So we'll start digging and the machine is just smoke is coming out. So it's like, oh God, that's the last thing we need.
Welcome to Hiner Outdoor Living. We're a team of yardists taking boring, cookie-cutter yards and transforming them into one-of-a-kind backyard retreats. Join us as we bring quality, passion, and fun to yards all across the Colorado Front Range, inspiring life outside.
We're coming up on a year since we launched our YouTube channel, and we grew a lot. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to just kind of sit down, chat about, like, let's just kind of reminisce. Let's talk about what went well, what didn't, favorite jobs of the year. I kind of wanted to recap and look back, because sometimes it's important to have that gratitude to see what we did, so that way we can kind of eyes forward, wrap this up. We'll talk about
and share it,
and just share the year with you and hit those high points, those low points, and figure out what we got to do.
Yeah, reminiscing about the year is always a fun thing. You get to see the goods, the bads, and also the goals on moving forward.
I mean, last year was great. We grew a lot. We grew by over 60%, and so with that came a lot of achievements, but came with a lot of challenges for sure.
And I think at least 10 plus times this year we said, well, these are good problems to have. I mean, even though there are problems and challenges, it doesn't take away the fact that these are good problems and challenges, and we're heading in the right direction. 3
winters ago, we didn't have any work. The three of us were just scrambling just to keep the lights on at this business. And so to go from, like, where's our next job, to, how are we going to even get to this next person? I mean, when you say, these are good problems to have, I would say that about sums it up with, we just had to have some self-reflection of gratitude throughout the year as well. We did probably around 85 jobs last year, ranging anywhere between 3,500 all the way up to 400,000. We did some big projects, big money projects, and some little stuff. There's and everything in between. Omar, we kind of we set these lofty goals. We go out there, we sell it, and then it's kind of here you go build it. We kind of throw you to the wolves a little bit, because it's hey, I don't know how you're going to build this, but then you just kind of have to figure it out, more or less.
Well, yeah, I am at the tail of the chain, if you're going to call it. Marshall is in charge of selling these big jobs, and I know, and he's been doing a great job.
They weren't just big jobs, though. They were out-of-town big jobs, too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the challenges, though, the back and forth, the traveling. But also, when, for example, this big job that we did in Denver. So it was challenging for me because it was huge.
Oh yeah, I gotta see the rocks first. But this is so high. It's cool, man. This is amazing. This is our existing pond right now. It's just a clay pond, or whatever you want to call it. We're gonna build a pond here at 20 by 30. I'm excited for this thing. It's gonna be challenging, but if it's not challenging, it's not fun for us.
I never done something as big as that. So it's a big responsibility to have, and that's just in the scale of the job. Once you start diving into it, you're gonna start encountering a bunch of stuff that you didn't, or that the salesperson didn't expect to have. So.
And that one had its own challenges because it was an earth bottom pond. There's water running into it, so we had to find a way to divert that water.
Actually, it wasn't an earth bottom pond. It was a rock bottom pond. So we have a big upper pond where we want to build our second pond. So all the water that it was seeping through the other pond, it was just coming into the pond that I was supposed to build.
This groundwater just won't stop coming out.
So we have to come up with a plan, because first we drained the pond in preparation to do a liner and all that stuff, and then the next day it was already 6 inches full again.
Yesterday we drained it out because this used to be a clay pond. Today we have more water in the pit. Over here on the top we have an upper pond. That's another clay pond. So water is seeping through this wall. So I'm afraid I'm gonna have to be fighting this water all the way out until I have all this pond rocked in.
We have to come up with some plan and one of them was to make a big trench.
Yeah, divert the water.
Divert the water. You know, we knew we couldn't stop the water, but we could channel the water out of our site. So we went through a big, really tall, I would say 12 or 15 feet mountain side of the pond, where we have to dig through it in order to get the water out of it. That wasn't even near in our scope of work when we first walked in there. But once we start moving up, you know, it was a big slope. So it was nice for me to work in there. I love when we have a big slope, so we can get a few more creative. But once we get to our plateau where we're going to build our bug filter, right? We start digging, and the whole thing, it was a rock. So we start digging, and the machine is just smoke is coming out. So it's like, oh God, that's the last thing we need.
Fun.
And yeah, we struggle in that. You know, the machine, we spend, you know, I would say almost a day scratching that thing out little by little until we finally reach between the machine and jackhammer, we reach our depth that we wanted. And, yeah, it was challenging for sure.
I would have to say my favorite project of the year was the one we did out in Peyton, about 35 minutes away from our homestay out east. And the reason why it was my favorite is because it wasn't necessarily the biggest job we did all year, but it had all the elements of a great pond that I love as, a pond enthusiast. It had a nice long stream with, edge right up to it. It had all the filtration and the bells and whistles of jets and a wetland and an intake bay with lights, and not to mention, I enjoyed working with the customer as well because he loved his koi. He always kept coming up with me with questions and, hey, what about this? What about that? I was like, yes, this is what you need to do, or no, don't listen to that. That's not what you, don't do that to this pond. Well, I mean, he got onto these networking things that were for traditional koi or, traditional bottom drain koi water features, or koi aquariums, some people say. And the thing is, that system is totally different than what we provided them, because he wanted the whole aspect of the nature and the beauty of the falls and the rocks and the plants.
That challenge was keeping him on target to make sure that you were setting him up for complete success. Yeah. So that way he wasn't getting something that wasn't going to be a good fit for what the system that
correct.
He had.
I mean, he brought up UV lights, and I had to tell him this system doesn't struggle with green water, and that's what a UV light does. And it's also bad for these systems because it kills the good bacteria. Right? Yeah. So. But I mean, I think that one is my favorite just because it was a big enough size, and we got to use some bigger rocks, and that it adds a presence. But it wasn't a huge pond, but it had all of those elements in it that make the pond go from good to great. I think that was the first wetland we were able to incorporate for the year.
Yeah,
the first intake. Jets are a completely new technology to the pond world as of 2 years ago.
I think the first time we did jets was at my house.
Yeah, it was, and that was even an afterthought, wasn't it? Or no?
We kind of thought about it, but
yeah.
We still are trying to calibrate it because that was our first time figuring it out, and
we found out we can't put a jet all the way at the bottom because the pressure cuts it down too much to where it doesn't make sense. We learned that one on your pond.
Yep. Yeah.
And we learned a lot on your pond.
My favorite project by far was this one in Kissing Camels, where it had this really modern, funky architecture, and it really challenged me as a designer to try and figure out how am I going to complement this architecture to make the landscape mirror this really unique building.
This is a natural flagstone. I'm not exactly sure what flagstone this is, but I'm guessing that we've got kind of a little bit of the Arizona buff with some the Colorado red.
I had to put this modern twist on this very natural style water feature. And so, you know, I really played off the lines of the home and created this destination fire pit. I got to play with some fun, unique materials that we never really got to work with. Got to really incorporate those clean lines on the water, and we got to build this like stone bridge, which was pretty cool. We'd never done anything like that, but the flagstone literally just goes over that, and now the fish will have an opportunity to swim right underneath that. I think it brings a whole lot of opportunity for, you know, just interaction with the people in the water and the fish and the plants and that kind of stuff. But I mean, we're just now finishing that one up. I think even today we're out there doing some punch list items. We still have to go back this spring and finish planting it and laying sod and that kind of stuff, but I'm really excited to see that one all flowered out. I think by far that's just kind of like my favorite, mainly because it's a combination of all these things that I've been working on and honing in over the years, and I get to kind of roll it all up into one really beautiful project.
I think the one that I like the most is the one that opposed the more resistant to me this year, you know, which was the one at Evergreen, the one that I was just talking about. And the reason I like about it so much, it was I guess the scale of it. It was a really big. I love the boulder, and I love the way it was just nestled right there, you know, and right in the middle of those aspens. And I think that whole thing, it just looked so natural, you know. It just those boulders, they were just placed just right when it comes to like nature wood in between all the trees, and you know, so I think that's the one that I like the most.
We hit our goals, exceeded them by a little bit last year.
Yeah.
I think we've raised the bar even more.
I'm excited for this year. You know, I know what we're capable of, and what we did last year. You know, we can easily exceed what we did last year. So I'm excited for this new year to see what it brings.
I think we're gearing up for another 50-60% growth here. With that, we're going to have to hire a few more team members. So, you know, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have facing us is making sure that we can bring the right people onto the team, and that, you know, for me, that's the utmost importance, just protecting that culture and making sure that we've got the ideal team players, you know, to contribute to, you know, our mission here.
Yeah, there's some jobs that is coming up this year that we've been looking forward to get, including.
We already got, you know, one,
Denver.
maybe two at the Denver Botanic
Denver
Garden.
Botanic Garden.
Back to Denver yet again.
I have a big one in the making that, you know, I have a good feeling about, so we'll see if that one comes through. That'll be another nice big water feature for Omar.
And I think I've got one or two back up on the mesa too, you know, so we get to, you know, we have to stare at the Garden of the Gods again. Dang it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
You're gonna deal with that double liner.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The double liner.
I mean, yeah. I didn't want to think about it, but now that you brought it up, I will have nightmares. Just kidding. It's part of the job. You know, we kind of got used to that situation. You know, we don't complain as much anymore. So bring it on.
Cheers to 2022, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers to
Let's do it.
2022.
I think we just set the bar. You know, we shared all the big things we got coming this year. What more to do if you made it this far? Like, comment, subscribe. You know, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on every Thursday at 4 p.m. Mountain.